5 years had passed since the humans left. The council chamber looked exactly the same, but something had changed. The empty section where human representatives once sat had been filled with additional seating for other species. It was as if humanity had never been there at all. Counselor Vextar reviewed reports on his data screen and felt something he rarely experienced: worry. The quarterly economic report showed declining numbers for the third season in a row. Trade efficiency was down by 18%. Military effectiveness had dropped even more sharply. "The numbers do not lie," said Thrain, reading from his own screen. "We are facing significant problems." "Temporary adjustments," Vextar replied, but his voice lacked confidence. "All systems experience fluctuations." "These are not fluctuations," Thrain insisted. "Look at the trade route data. The Kepler run has been attacked by pirates 7 times this month." 7 times. When humans patrolled that route, we had maybe 2 attacks per year. Vextar clicked his mandibles in frustration. "Send more patrol ships." "We have sent patrol ships. They are ineffective. The pirates use guerrilla tactics that our forces cannot counter. Humans developed those counter tactics. We never bothered to learn them ourselves." The meeting continued with more bad news. Mining output was down because human engineers had maintained most of the complex extraction equipment. Diplomatic relations with fringe species were deteriorating because human negotiators had been the only ones capable of understanding their unusual communication methods. Even basic station maintenance was suffering. "What about our attempts to locate humanity?" Vextar asked. "Surely they have established themselves somewhere by now." A science officer activated a holographic display. It showed the outer dark, the vast unmapped region beyond council space. Red dots marked locations where probes had been sent. "We have launched 247 long-range probes," the officer reported. 63 have simply disappeared. The rest sent back data showing empty systems or hostile environments. No trace of human activity. "Send scout ships with full crews," Vextar ordered. "We did, Counselor." 3 scout missions. None returned. The chamber fell silent. Losing automated probes was expected. Losing entire crewed vessels was disturbing. "Perhaps they truly did not survive," suggested another counselor, a reptilian being named Scarth. "The outer dark is called that for a reason." "Or perhaps they do not wish to be found," Thrain said quietly. Far away, in a region of space that council sensors could not reach, Jiwan Li stood in the observation dome of New Terra Station. The view was spectacular. Below her, the planet called New Terra rotated slowly, showing green continents and blue oceans. Around the planet, dozens of orbital platforms floated like jewels. Construction vessels moved between them, building new modules and expanding old ones. New Terra was not the only human colony in the outer dark, but it was the largest. 5 million people called it home now, with more arriving every month. The planet itself had been lifeless when they found it, but human terraforming technology had worked miracles. Atmosphere processors had created breathable air. Genetically modified plants had turned barren soil into farmland. It had taken 5 years of constant work, but now New Terra was truly alive. "Impressive, is it not?" said a voice behind her. Jiwon turned to see Captain Daeho Kim. He was older now, with gray hair at his temples, but his eyes were still sharp and alert. He had been promoted to admiral and now commanded the entire human defense fleet. "I remember when we first arrived here," Jiwon said. "Just empty space and a dead rock. Now look at it." "We built this without council restrictions," Daeho said. "Without someone telling us our ideas were too dangerous or too innovative. We simply did what humans do best. We solved problems." Jiwon pulled up data on her tablet. "The latest census shows we have established 42 colonies in the outer dark. 31 are self-sufficient. The others will be within 2 years. And the shipyards? Operating at full capacity. We are building vessels with designs that would have been rejected by the council as impossible. Dr. Sunwoo Kang's research division has made breakthroughs in faster-than-light travel that cut journey times by 40%. Daeho smiled. The council always said humans were too reckless with new technology. They never understood that calculated risk-taking is how progress happens. "Speaking of the council," Jiwon said, "our long-range sensors have detected their scout ships near the border regions." "How many?" 3 separate missions over the past year. None of them penetrated deep enough to find our colonies. What did we do with them? We monitored them. When they got too close, we used electromagnetic interference to disable their sensors and sent them off course. They returned to Council space thinking the outer dark is empty and hostile. Deho nodded approval. Good, we are not ready to reveal ourselves yet. We need more time to build our strength. In Council space, strange reports were beginning to circulate. Ship captains claimed to have seen impossible things. Human vessels in forbidden zones moving at speeds that should not be possible. Station administrators found evidence that someone was trading with isolated colonies, someone who was not part of the Council. Pirates who raided border worlds told confused stories about being driven off by unmarked ships that used unfamiliar weapons. The Council dismissed these reports as rumors and mistakes. Humans were gone, lost in the outer dark. Everyone knew that, but some people were not so sure. In a small office deep within the Council Intelligence Division, an analyst named Hyejin Choi reviewed data with increasing interest. She was officially listed as a member of a minor species called the Talari, but that was a false identity. Hyejin was human, one of a handful who had stayed behind as deep cover operatives. Her job was simple: monitor Council activities and send regular reports back to human leadership. For 5 years, she had done exactly that, watching as the Council slowly realized their mistake in letting humanity leave. Now her reports were becoming more urgent. She typed out her latest message. Council shows signs of economic stress and military weakness. They are beginning to understand how much they depended on human contributions. However, pride prevents them from admitting this openly. Recommend continued isolation policy. The longer we remain hidden, the stronger we become and the weaker they grow. She encrypted the message and sent it through a complex network of relay stations. It would take weeks to reach New Terra, but it would get there safely. Back in the Council chamber, Vextar called an emergency session. The economic reports had become too serious to ignore. We must face facts, he said to the assembled councilors. Our civilization is declining. Crime is up. Production is down. Our military cannot maintain order. And all of this began when humanity left. What are you suggesting? Asked Scarth. That we beg them to return? I am suggesting that perhaps we were too hasty in our judgment of humanity. Perhaps they contributed more to our society than we acknowledged. Thrain fluttered his wings in agitation. You want to admit we were wrong? I want to admit that we may have made a mistake, Vextar said carefully. But first we must find them. We must know if they even still exist. And if they do exist? Thrain asked. If they have survived in the outer dark? What then? Vextar had no answer for that. None of them did. They had spent 5 years believing that humanity would fail and disappear. They had not considered what would happen if humanity succeeded. That night in his private chambers, Vextar reviewed old recordings of council sessions from before the Exodus. He watched Ambassador Myung Park giving speeches, presenting proposals, arguing for her people's rights. He had dismissed her so easily back then. Now watching again, he saw something different. He saw determination, intelligence, and strength. He saw a warning that he had ignored. You will not fail, she had said on her last day, and we will not need saving. But one day you might. Vextar turned off the recording. Outside his window, the stars shone cold and distant. Somewhere out there, in the darkness beyond the maps, humanity was doing something, building something, becoming something, and the Council had no idea what it was. The Council chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive ring of metal and glass that orbited the neutral planet below. Inside the Great Hall, representatives from 47 different species sat in their designated sections. The air smelled of 100 different worlds, filtered and mixed by machines that kept everyone alive in this shared space. Ambassador Myung Park stood in the center of the chamber. She was a small woman compared to most beings here, but she stood straight and tall. Her dark suit was simple and plain with only one decoration, a small pin showing the blue and green earth. Around her, the council members watched with expressions that ranged from boredom to barely hidden contempt. Councillor Vextar clicked his mandibles together, making a sound like laughter. He was the leader of the council, an insectoid creature twice as tall as any human. His 4 eyes looked down at Myung with obvious amusement. Ambassador Park, surely you cannot be serious. Humanity wishes to leave the council? Where would you go? Myung held up a data tablet. We are going beyond the mapped territories. Into the outer dark. The chamber erupted with noise. Beings chittered, growled, whistled, and spoke in a dozen languages all at once. The translation devices struggled to keep up. "Impossible!" shouted Counselor Thrain, a bird-like creature with golden feathers. "No species has ever survived in the outer dark. There are no resources, no safe routes, no surveyed systems." "Then we will find them," Myung said quietly. "We will survey them ourselves." Vextar raised one clawed arm and the chamber fell silent. "Let us be clear about what you are saying. Humanity is choosing to abandon the protection of the Council. You are choosing to leave behind the trade networks, the shared technology, and the security we provide. All because you feel, what, unappreciated?" Myung felt anger rise in her chest, but she kept her voice calm. "We have been part of this Council for 15 years. In that time, our people have been treated as third-class citizens. Our colonies are restricted to barren worlds that nobody else wants. Our innovations are stolen and credited to other species. Our traders are taxed at rates 3 times higher than anyone else. Our soldiers fight in your wars but cannot rise above the lowest ranks." "You are a young species," Vextar said, as if explaining something simple to a child. "You must earn your place, as all species do." "We have earned it," Myung replied. "We have earned it with blood and sweat and brilliant minds, but you refuse to see it. So we are leaving." Thrain spread his wings in a gesture of dismissal. "You will be back within a year begging for readmission. The outer dark will break you." Myung smiled then, and it was not a kind smile. "Perhaps. Or perhaps you will learn what humanity is truly capable of when we are not held back by your rules and restrictions." She pressed a button on her tablet. On the main display screen, images appeared. Hundreds of ships, all gathered at the edge of Council space. Civilian transports, military vessels, cargo haulers, mining ships, research stations, and colony modules. Every human ship in Council territory, all in one place. "This is the Exodus fleet," Myung said. 3 million humans are leaving today. Another 7 million will follow in the next 6 months. We are taking our knowledge, our technology, our courage, and our hope. We are going to build something new. Something better." Vextar leaned forward. "You are making a grave mistake. The galaxy is a dangerous place for those without protection. We will protect ourselves," Myung said, "as we always have." At the edge of Council space, Captain Daeho Kim stood on the bridge of the lead ship. The vessel was called the New Beginning, and it was the largest ship humanity had ever built. Around him, his crew worked at their stations with practiced efficiency. They were nervous, but they were ready. "All ships report ready, Captain," said his second officer. Daeho looked at the view screen. Behind them, stretching back as far as sensors could detect, was the fleet. Hundreds of ships carrying everything humanity owned in this part of the galaxy. In front of them was the boundary marker, a line of automated beacons that marked the edge of Council-controlled space. Beyond that was darkness and the unknown. "Send a message to all ships," Daeho said. "Today we leave behind a system that never valued us. We go forward into uncertainty, but we go forward together. We are humans, and we have never been afraid of the dark." A cheer went up from his bridge crew. Across the fleet, on hundreds of ships, similar cheers echoed. "Take us through," Daeho ordered. The New Beginning's engines flared bright blue, and the ship moved forward. One by one, the other ships followed. They crossed the boundary line and left Council space behind. Back in the Council chamber, Myung watched the tracking display as the fleet disappeared from Council sensors. She felt tears on her face but did not wipe them away. This was goodbye to everything she had known, everything she had worked for. But it was also hello to something new. "You will fail," Vextar said from his seat. "And when you do not expect us to save you." Myung turned to face him one last time. She reached up and unpinned the diplomatic badge from her suit. It was a small circle of metal that had granted her access to this chamber for 5 years. She held it for a moment, feeling its weight, then let it fall to the floor. It bounced once with a clear ringing sound that seemed very loud in the sudden silence. "We will not fail," she said, "and we will not need saving. But one day you might." She walked toward the exit. Her footsteps echoed on the polished floor. No one tried to stop her. No one said goodbye. She reached the door and paused, looking back one final time at the Council that had rejected her people again and again. "History will remember this day," she said. "I hope you remember it too." Then she left. The doors closed behind her with a soft hiss. She walked through empty corridors to the docking bay where the last human shuttle waited. The pilot nodded to her as she climbed aboard. "Ready, Ambassador?" he asked. "Yes," Myung said. Take me home. Take me to the fleet. The shuttle launched into space. Through the viewport, Mi-young could see the Council station growing smaller behind them. Ahead in the distance, the Exodus fleet's lights were tiny stars in the darkness. They were going toward those lights, toward the unknown, toward freedom. In the Council chamber, Vextar watched the shuttle disappear on the tracking screens. Around him, other counselors laughed and made jokes about humanity's foolishness. Thrain was already discussing how to divide up the abandoned human territories. But Vextar did not laugh. He stared at the diplomatic badge still lying on the floor where Mi-young had dropped it. Something about this moment felt wrong, though he could not say exactly what. It felt like an ending, yes, but also like a beginning of something he did not understand. He dismissed the feeling. Humans were young and foolish. They would learn, or so he believed. 10 years after the Exodus, the Council was in crisis. What had begun as minor inconveniences had grown into serious problems. 3 member species had withdrawn from the Council entirely, unable to maintain their economies under the deteriorating conditions. Border worlds were being abandoned as pirate raids became too frequent and too violent. The Council military had lost 4 major engagements against enemies they once would have defeated easily. Admiral Daeho Kim reviewed the latest intelligence reports from their operatives in Council space. He was fully gray now, but still commanded the human defense fleet with sharp precision. His office aboard New Terra Station was filled with holographic displays showing human territories throughout the outer dark. "They are falling apart," said Dr. Sunwoo Kang, the chief scientist of the Outer Dark Research Initiative. She was a brilliant woman in her 50s with tired eyes that had seen too many late nights in laboratories. The economic projections show complete collapse within 5 years if current trends continue. "Is that our problem?" Daeho asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. "It may become our problem," Sunwoo replied. "A collapsing council creates power vacuums. Power vacuums attract hostile forces. We cannot remain isolated forever." Before Daeho could respond, an alert flashed on his screen. A council fleet had crossed into the outer regions of the dark. This was not a small scout ship. This was a major expedition. "They are looking for us," Daeho said, "and this time they brought enough ships to search properly." "What are your orders?" "Monitor them. Do not engage unless necessary. Let us see what they do." Captain Bora Han commanded the Council reconnaissance fleet. She was one of the few remaining competent officers in the Council military, a human who had risen through the ranks before the Exodus. When the fleet left, she had chosen to stay, believing in the Council's ideals. 10 years later, she was not sure if that had been the right choice. Her fleet consisted of 12 ships, the largest exploration mission the Council had sent into the outer dark. Their orders were simple: find humanity, or find proof of their destruction. "Bring back answers. We are now 3 weeks past the border," reported her sensor officer. "No contacts, no signals, nothing but empty space." Bora studied the navigation charts. The outer dark was vast, containing thousands of unexplored systems. Finding humanity would be like finding a specific grain of sand on a beach. "Continue deeper," she ordered. "Spread the fleet into a search pattern. Full sensor sweeps of every system." They jumped from system to system, finding nothing but barren planets and empty space. Then on the 34th day, everything changed. "Captain," the sensor officer shouted. "Contact! Multiple contacts!" "I am reading. This cannot be right." "Report," Bora demanded. "I am reading 67 artificial structures in this system. Orbital stations, mining platforms, and what appears to be a planet with active terraforming operations." Bora's heart raced. "Is it human?" "Unknown. The energy signatures are unfamiliar, more advanced than Council technology." "Wait, I am getting more data. Captain, there are ships in orbit. Lots of ships." The view screen activated, showing what their sensors had detected. Bora stared in disbelief. The planet below was partially green, clearly being transformed from a dead world into a living one. Around it floated massive orbital platforms, far larger than anything the Council could build. And the ships. The ships were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Sleek designs that looked nothing like Council vessels but somehow familiar. "Those are human ships," Bora whispered. "But how? The technology required to build structures like those." "Captain, we are being scanned," the sensor officer reported. "Multiple targeting locks. They know we are here. Raise shields. Weapons on standby, but do not fire. Broadcast on all frequencies that we come in peace." For long minutes, nothing happened. Then a transmission came through. It was audio only, and the voice spoke in perfect Council common language. "Council vessel, you are in restricted space. State your purpose." Bora activated her own transmitter. "This is Captain Bora Han of the Council Reconnaissance Fleet. We seek contact with humanity. We wish to speak with your leaders." Another pause. "Then stand by." The wait felt eternal. Bora watched as several of the human ships moved to surround her fleet. They did not approach in an aggressive manner, but the message was clear. They could destroy the Council ships anytime they wanted. Finally, another transmission came. This time there was video. A woman appeared on the screen, someone Bora recognized from old records. "Captain Han," said Jiwan Lee, now the administrator of New Terra Colony. "It has been a long time since we have seen a Council ship. What brings you to our space?" "Your space?" Bora asked. "You claim this territory? We have built here. We live here. We thrive here." "Yes, Captain, this is our space now." Bora looked at the planet on her view screen. "You have accomplished. I did not think this was possible. The Council scientists said terraforming on this scale would take centuries." "The Council scientists were wrong about many things," Jiwan said. "Now I ask again, what brings you here?" Bora chose honesty. "The Council is in crisis. We face economic collapse, military defeats, and social instability. The Councilors have finally admitted what many of us knew all along. Humanity was the problem-solving engine of our civilization. Without you, we are failing. And you want us to come back and fix your problems," Jiwan said. It was not a question. "I want to report what I have found here," Bora said. "I want to tell the Council that humanity has not just survived but thrived. What they choose to do with that information is not my decision." Jiwan considered this. "You are welcome to look around, Captain. See what we have built. Then take your report back to the Council. But I will tell you now, we will not return to the old system. Those days are over." Over the next 3 days, Bora and her crew were allowed to tour several human colonies. What they saw amazed and frightened them. Dozens of thriving worlds connected by fast and efficient trade routes. Shipyards producing vessels with technology that should not exist. Research stations making breakthroughs that Council scientists had declared impossible. Dr. Sunwoo Kang gave Bora a tour of the primary research facility. "We have made advances in faster-than-light travel, energy generation, medical technology, and artificial intelligence integration," Sunwoo explained. "Without Council restrictions, our scientists are free to explore theories that were once forbidden." "But some of those restrictions existed for good reasons," Bora protested. "Safety concerns, ethical considerations." "And we address those concerns," Sunwoo replied. "But we address them as challenges to overcome, not as reasons to stop trying. That is the difference between our approach and the Council's approach." Bora also learned that humanity had made contact with 3 new species in the Outer Dark. Unlike the Council's hierarchical system, these new species were treated as equals from the first meeting. They shared technology freely, traded fairly, and defended each other against common threats. "You have built something remarkable here," Bora admitted to Jiwan on her last day. "An alliance based on mutual respect and benefit, not power and control." "Yes," Jiwan said. "We learned from the Council's mistakes." "The Council will want to negotiate your return," Bora said. "We do not wish to return," Jiwan replied firmly. "But we are not your enemies either. We simply want to be left alone to build our own future." Bora's fleet departed with full records of everything they had seen. As they jumped back toward Council space, Bora recorded her official report. She knew it would cause panic in the Council chamber. "Humanity has not only survived," she said into the recorder. "They have evolved beyond us. Their technology is superior. Their society is thriving. Their military capabilities are unknown but clearly formidable. The Council faces a difficult truth. We are no longer the dominant power in this region of space. And if we continue our current course, we will soon be irrelevant." When Bora's report reached the Council chamber, the effect was immediate and devastating. Councilors argued, shouted, and accused each other. Vextar watched the chaos with a heavy heart. He had spent 10 years telling himself that letting humanity leave was the right decision. Now he knew the truth. It had been the greatest mistake of his life. "We created this," he said quietly to Thrain. "Our arrogance, our prejudice, our refusal to see humanity's value. We pushed them away, and now they have become something we cannot control." "What do we do?" Thrain asked. "I do not know. Vextar admitted. But we must decide quickly. Because if Captain Han's report is accurate, humanity is now powerful enough to become a threat if they choose to be. In the observation dome of New Terra Station, Admiral Daeho Kim watched the Council fleet's light signatures disappear into the distance. Beside him, President Myung Park stood in silence. They know about us now, Myung said. She had been elected president of the Free Human Systems 3 years ago, leading all human colonies in the outer dark. Yes, Daeho agreed. The question is, what will they do about it? And what will we do, Myung added, when they come asking for help? Neither of them had an answer yet, but they both knew that answer would come soon. The Kravik Empire struck without warning on a cold morning in Council space. Their fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Talos system, 300 warships bristling with weapons. The system's defense stations managed to send one distress call before they were destroyed. Counselor Vextar received the news in his chambers. He had not slept well in months, troubled by dreams and doubts. Now his worst fears were becoming real. How many ships? He asked the military liaison. Current estimates say 300, possibly more arriving. It is the largest Kravik assault force we have ever seen. Send the defense fleet immediately, Vextar ordered. Already en route, Counselor. But I must be honest, our forces are not what they once were. We have lost many experienced officers, our tactics have not evolved in years, and our equipment is outdated. The humans always handled our military innovation, and without them, Vextar did not need to hear more. He understood perfectly. The Council had relied on human military genius for so long that they had forgotten how to fight effectively on their own. The Battle of Talos lasted 4 hours. The Council defense fleet was destroyed almost completely. Only a handful of ships escaped to carry news of the disaster back to the core worlds. The Kravik Empire had declared war, and their opening strike had been devastatingly effective. Over the next 3 weeks, 4 more systems fell. The Kravik advance was methodical and brutal. They targeted trade hubs and industrial centers, crippling the Council's ability to mount a proper defense. Refugees flooded into the remaining Council territories, overwhelming aid stations and supply lines. In the Council chamber, panic had set in. Councilors shouted accusations at each other, trying to assign blame for the disaster. Meanwhile, Kravik forces moved closer to the core worlds with each passing day. General Minho Song stood on the bridge of the human battlecruiser Defiant, reviewing tactical data. He was a stern man in his 40s with scars from old battles and eyes that saw everything. As commander of human military forces, he had spent 10 years preparing for threats from unknown space. He had not expected the threat to come from the Council's direction. The Kravik Empire, he said to his staff. What do we know about them? His intelligence officer pulled up data. Aggressive expansionist species from beyond Council borders. They have been building strength for decades. The Council knew about them but considered them a minor threat. That assessment was clearly wrong. How long until they reach human space? Minho asked. If they continue at their current pace and fully conquer Council territory, approximately 8 months. Maybe less. Minho nodded slowly. So this is not just the Council's problem. It is our problem too. Yes, sir. If the Council falls, the Kravik will turn their attention to us next. We would be fighting them alone. On New Terra, President Myung Park called an emergency session of the Human Colonial Assembly. Representatives from all 42 colonies attended via holographic link. The debate was fierce. Why should we help them? Demanded the representative from the Kepler colony. They treated us like garbage for 15 years. They mocked us when we left. Now they expect us to save them? Because if we do not help, Myung replied, the Kravik will eventually come for us. And while we are strong, we are not strong enough to fight a war on that scale alone. The president is right, said Admiral Daeho Kim. This is not about helping the Council. This is about our own survival. Then we should negotiate a price for our assistance, suggested another representative. Full recognition of our independence. Reparations for past injustices. Equal status in any future government. Agreed, Myung said. We will help them, but not as subordinates begging to return. We will help them as equals or not at all. The vote was close, but ultimately the Assembly agreed. Humanity would offer assistance to the Council, but only under strict conditions. Ambassador Yuna Ro arrived at New Terra 3 days later. She was a Council diplomat, a graceful being from a species that resembled tall, elegant cats. She had been chosen for this mission because she was one of the few counselors who had always treated humans with respect. Myung received her in the presidential office, a simple room with windows overlooking the thriving planet below. "President Park," Yuna said, bowing respectfully. "Thank you for seeing me." "Ambassador Rowe," Myung replied. "I understand you bring a request from the council." Yuna did not waste time with pleasantries. "We are dying. The Kravik are destroying us system by system. Our military cannot stop them. Our allies are abandoning us. We need help." "Why should we help you?" Myung asked bluntly. "Because despite everything that happened between us, we are not your enemies. The Kravik are. If they destroy the council, they will come for you next. You know this." Myung stood and walked to the window. "You are right. We have already discussed this among ourselves. We will help you, but not as we were before." She turned back to face Yuna. "Here are our conditions. First, full and official recognition of the free human systems as an independent sovereign entity. Second, all territorial claims against human colonies are permanently abandoned. Third, formal reparations for 15 years of discriminatory treatment. Fourth, if we help you win this war, humanity will have equal representation in any reformed government structure." Yuna closed her eyes for a moment, processing the demands. "These are heavy conditions." "They are fair conditions," Myung corrected. "And they are non-negotiable. The council will resist," Yuna warned. Their pride is why they are losing," Myung interrupted. "They can accept our help on our terms, or they can face the Kravik alone." "I am done caring about council pride." Yuna was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. "I will take your terms back to the council, and I will recommend they accept." The debate in the council chamber was fierce and bitter. Vextar presented humanity's conditions to an audience of angry, frightened counselors. "This is extortion," shouted Councillor Scarth. "They demand we give them everything." "They demand we treat them as equals," Vextar replied calmly. "Something we should have done from the beginning." "You would have us bow to these upstart humans?" another counselor demanded. "I would have us survive." Vextar's voice echoed through the chamber. "Another system fell today. The Kravik are 2 months from reaching the core worlds. We are losing this war badly. We need help, and only humanity can provide it." Thrain spoke up, his voice weary. "Perhaps we deserve this. We pushed them away when they needed us. Now we need them, and they make us pay for our mistakes. It is justice, in a way." The vote took hours. In the end, survival won over pride. The council agreed to humanity's conditions. When the message reached New Terra, Myung read it with mixed emotions. She felt satisfaction at finally being recognized, but also sadness that it had taken such a crisis to make it happen. "Prepare the fleet," she told Admiral Deho. "We go to war." "The council expects us to follow their battle plans," Deho warned. "We will need to establish that we command our own forces." "Make that clear immediately," Myung said. "We are allies, not subordinates. Our military will coordinate with theirs but will not be controlled by them." General Minho Song took command of the joint operations planning. When he arrived at the council military headquarters, he found chaos. Officers argued over strategies, supply lines were confused, and morale was dangerously low. "This is unacceptable," he told the council military leadership. "You cannot win a war like this." "Then how would you do it?" asked the council general, a massive reptilian being who looked at Minho with barely concealed resentment. Minho pulled up tactical displays. "First, we consolidate the defense lines. Stop trying to hold everything and focus on defendable positions. Second, we use human ships to harass Kravik supply lines. They have overextended their advance. We cut their logistics and they starve. Third, we coordinate properly. That means unified command structure and clear communication." "You want us to put you in charge," the council general said. "I want us to win," Minho replied. "I do not care who is in charge as long as they are competent." "Are you competent, General?" The challenge hung in the air. Finally, the council general looked away. "Do what you think is best." Over the next weeks, human forces integrated with council military units. It was not smooth at first. Council soldiers resented taking orders from humans. Human officers bristled at the inefficiency and outdated tactics of their allies. But gradually, under Minho's firm leadership, things began to improve. The first joint operation was a raid on a Kravik supply depot. Human ships, faster and more maneuverable, struck hard and fast while Council forces provided heavy firepower support. The depot was destroyed and an entire Kravik battle group was left without fuel and ammunition. News of the victory spread quickly. Morale improved. More importantly, the Kravik advance slowed as they were forced to protect their supply lines. "This is working," Vextar said, watching tactical reports in the council chamber. "The humans are teaching us how to fight again." "They are teaching us many things," Thrain replied quietly, "including humility." In her office on New Terra, Mi-Young received daily reports from the front lines. Human casualties were mounting. Good people were dying to defend those who had once oppressed them. It troubled her deeply. "Is it worth it?" she asked Diho during one of their private conversations. The battle for Proxima Tertius was the turning point of the war. The Kravik Empire had thrown everything into one massive assault on the Council's most important industrial world. If it fell, the Council would lose the ability to produce ships and weapons. The war would be over. Admiral Daeho Kim stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Indomitable, watching the tactical display. 300 Kravik warships were converging on the planet. The Council defense fleet numbered only 200 ships, many of them damaged from previous battles. But Daeho had a plan. "All human vessels, this is Fleet Command," he broadcast on the secure channel. "Execute Delta Formation. Show them what we have learned in the outer dark." The human ships broke from the main formation and accelerated to incredible speeds. Council captains watched in amazement as human vessels, using technology developed over 10 years of independent research, moved faster than anything they had seen before. General Minho Song commanded the tactical operations from the surface. His ground forces were preparing for a possible Kravik landing, but he hoped it would not come to that. "Air defenses at full readiness," he ordered. "If any Kravik troops make it through the fleet battle, we will be ready for them." The space battle began with a thunderous exchange of fire. Kravik ships fired massive energy weapons that had destroyed so many Council vessels before, but this time was different. Human ships darted between the Kravik formation, using superior speed and maneuverability to attack from unexpected angles. Their weapons, designed with new theories that Council scientists had once declared impossible, cut through Kravik shields with devastating efficiency. Commander Jiwan Lee led a squadron of human fighters in a daring run at the Kravik command ship. Her voice was calm as she gave orders to her pilots. "Stay tight. Watch your spacing. Remember your training. We only get one shot at this." The fighters dove through a storm of defensive fire. 2 were destroyed, but the rest made it through. Their missiles struck the Kravik command ship's bridge, crippling its ability to coordinate the fleet. On the Indomitable, Diho watched as the Kravik formation began to break apart. Without proper coordination, their numerical advantage meant less. "Council fleet, this is Admiral Kim," he broadcast on the open channel. "Now is the time. All ships full assault. Drive them back." The combined fleet surged forward. Council ships, fighting alongside human vessels with new confidence, pressed the attack. The battle raged for 6 brutal hours. Ships on both sides were destroyed. Brave beings died defending their homes and their futures. At one critical moment, the Kravik fleet's main battleship targeted Councillor Vextar's personal vessel, which was observing the battle from a distance. The shot was perfect, unavoidable. Vextar watched his death approaching on the view screen. Then the Indomitable moved between them. Daeho's flagship took the full force of the Kravik weapon, shields flaring bright with the impact. The ship shuddered but held. "Admiral, shields down to 20%, his tactical officer reported. "Hull breaches on decks 7 and 9. "Return fire," Daeho ordered calmly. "All weapons." The Indomitable's weapons lit up the darkness of space. The Kravik battleship's shields collapsed, and the ship began to break apart. On his vessel, Vextar stared at the view screen in shock. A human ship had saved his life. A human admiral had put himself in danger to protect a counselor who had once dismissed and belittled humanity. The battle ended with a Kravik retreat. For the first time since the war began, they had been decisively defeated. The Council worlds erupted in celebration, but the cost had been high. 27 human ships were destroyed or damaged beyond repair. Thousands of human lives lost. In the Council chamber, an emergency session was called. Vextar stood before the assembled counselors, many of whom had watched the battle via live feed. "Today, humanity saved us," he said simply. Not because we deserved it, not because we had earned their loyalty, but because they saw a threat to all civilization and chose to stand against it. Admiral Daeho Kim risked his life to save mine. Commander Jiwon Lee led her pilots through impossible odds. General Min Ho-song's tactical genius turned the tide of the entire war, and thousands of human soldiers fought and died defending worlds that once denied them basic rights. The chamber was silent. Many counselors looked ashamed. I have been a fool, Vextar continued. We all have been. We saw humanity as young and reckless. We never saw them as brave and innovative. We saw them as inferior. We never saw them as equals. That ends today. He pulled up the treaty document that humanity had demanded. These conditions are fair. More than fair. We will accept them fully and implement them immediately. Furthermore, I propose we dissolve the Council and reform as a true union of equals, with humanity as a founding member. This is too much, Councillor Scarth protested weakly. You would give them everything? They already have everything, Thrain said, speaking for the first time in weeks. They have the technology, the military strength, the innovative spirit, and the moral high ground. The only question is whether we recognize reality or continue living in delusion. The vote was unanimous. The Galactic Council would be reformed as the Galactic Union, with humanity as an equal partner from the beginning. 2 months later, the Kravik Empire sued for peace. Their military had been broken by the combined Human Council forces. Their supply lines were destroyed. Their leadership was in chaos. The war was over. A great ceremony was held on New Terra to mark the signing of the treaty and the founding of the Galactic Union. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in the newly built Unity Hall. The architecture was deliberately simple and open, designed to make everyone feel welcome rather than intimidated. President Myung Park stood at the podium, wearing the same simple dark suit she had worn 13 years ago when she left the council chamber. She looked older now, with streaks of gray in her hair and lines around her eyes, but her voice was strong and clear. 13 years ago, my people left the council because we were not valued. We were treated as lesser beings, good enough to work and fight and die for others, but not good enough to have a voice in our own destiny. We went into the darkness and built something new, something better. She paused, looking at the assembled crowd. Vextar sat in the front row, listening intently. Beside him sat Admiral Daeho, General Minho, Commander Jiwon, and other humans who had fought in the war. Today we return, but not as we left. We return as equals. We return as proven allies and friends. But we also return with a memory of how easily civilization can fall into prejudice and arrogance. Let that memory guide us. She gestured to a memorial wall being unveiled behind her. On it were engraved the names of everyone who had died in the war, human and alien alike. 3,412 humans gave their lives defending the Council, defending beings who had once oppressed them. They did not do this for revenge or for glory. They did it because it was right. Because threats to civilization are threats to all of us. Because we are stronger together than apart. There was not a dry eye in the hall. Even Vextar, who had thought himself beyond such emotions, felt tears on his face. After the ceremony, Vextar found me young on the observation deck, looking out at New Terra. President Park, he said quietly, I owe you an apology. I owed it to you 13 years ago, but I was too proud to give it. I am sorry for how we treated your people. I am sorry for my arrogance and blindness. Myung turned to face him. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she nodded. I accept your apology, Counselor, but understand that words alone do not heal wounds. Actions heal wounds. Time heals wounds. I understand, Vextar said. What can I do? Keep your promise, Myung replied. Make the Union truly equal, not just in law, but in practice. When humans speak, listen. When other species speak, listen. Never again let pride and prejudice make your decisions. I will, Vextar promised. And if I fail, I hope you will tell me so. Myung smiled slightly. Oh, I will. Humans are very good at pointing out mistakes. It is one of our most annoying qualities. It is one of your best qualities, Vextar corrected. We thought we were civilizing you. We never realized you were already more civilized than us. That evening, the Interspecies Academy was officially opened. It was built on New Terra, a compromise location that symbolized the new era. Young beings from dozens of species would study together, learning not just science and technology but also cooperation and mutual respect. Admiral Daeho watched the opening ceremony with quiet satisfaction. He was retiring from military service, ready to let younger officers take over, but he would stay involved as an advisor and teacher at the academy. "We did it," Jiwon said, standing beside him. She too was retiring from active duty, planning to write a history of the Exodus and the war. "We survived," Daeho corrected. "We built something worth defending, and we defended it. But the real work is just beginning." "What work is that?" "Making sure this lasts. Making sure the lessons learned are not forgotten. Making sure the next generation builds something even better than we did." Far across the galaxy, the Kravik Empire watched the formation of the Galactic Union with wary eyes. They had lost the war, but they had learned valuable lessons. Humanity was formidable. The Union was strong. Future conflicts would require different strategies.